This is a massive undertaking I'm making here. I have recorded 20 games in a row. Take a look. At least I think it's 20. It's a doggone lot of them, that's for sure. And this is just evidence, I think, that Edric may be too powerful for the format. Perhaps the banning of him in the French list is correct. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to power through these as quickly as possible, and then I'll bring up the deck list at the end. There have been some changes, so stick around for that. And I hope you enjoy this ride, because it's going to be fairly interesting here. So, with minimal going over each play, basically here we go. So game one, I have an insane hand and run out tons of mana. My opponent tries to slow me down with a strip mine. Not so good when I'm 4 mana up to his 0. Tries to get down with some blockers. Decides not to block, apparently. So I just power into Mystical Tutor, or scroll into Mystical Tutor, excuse me. He gets a Pile Driver down, which is pretty good. And a Mystical, not for Trastodon, but for Bribery. I suspect he's going to be playing Siege Gang, and I figured we'll just go get Siege Gang and crush him. He's playing Mere Battlesphere. There was a Siege Gang in there, but this is an even better choice. So I take Mere Battlesphere, and then regrow and Bribery him again. This time taking Kiki Jiki and make a copy of Eternal Witness, or excuse me, of Mere Battlesphere. Hit him for like a whole bunch of cards. He doesn't kill Kiki Jiki, so next turn I just go ahead and clone the Witness, pick up Bribery him, this time for Infernal Titan. Draw a ton more cards. At some point I'll get around to getting Siege Gang, perhaps. And then just deploy Treachery, just because at this point nothing's more. Cards have no value, but tempo always has value, so he finally gives up. So, crushed by his own deck. Game 2, I'm playing. Well, I have to do this at the beginning of these. It's going to slow things down a bit. So I'm playing my stuff's at the top. He's playing Ural, the Miststalker. And I keep. He gets a Soul Ring. I decide not to force the will it. So he goes for his commander, and I force that, and he just gives up. Okay, well, whatever. So next opponent is playing Rurik Thar, the Unbowed. And I take a mulligan, and I mulligan into a slow hand. A very risky keep if he has a Wasteland or Strip Mine. And he has 2 turns to play it, or even Artifact Removal, but he doesn't have any of it, and I top deck that Signet, which is perfect. So I'm able to get Sylvan Ranger and play an Arrayo. And then right down into Edric. I'm happy to trade creatures with him and draw a card while I'm in the process. He misses a land drop, so he plays Scrib to try to kill Arrayo, but I bounce Arrayo. His Scrib is a spell, Snap is a spell, Arrayo is a spell, Drog is a spell, and Arrayo flips. Now he's pretty much done for, but he plays Stun the Last Troll, which can't be countered, so that's nice. 4 points of power in a 40 life format. It's a 10 turn clock. Might as well be a Grizzly Bear in a 20 life format. So I just get down like Feast and Famine on my Spike Tail, start drawing extra cards, pumping up Madraga, move the Sword of Feast and Famine back to Edric and block Thrun. And down comes Jite, and at that point he gives in. This says match, but I think the guy got his butt kicked and decided he wasn't going to play the match out. He set the game up as a match, which is actually kind of funny. I guess he only wants to play 2 out of 3 if he wins. Who knows? Anyway, he's playing Nylea, God of the Hunt. My stuff's up at the top this time. So keep modest hand. Get down with Arrayo so that I can play Edric, and then I'm faced with this Sword of Fire and Ice, and I figured what I'm going to have to do is chump block. But for whatever reason, he doesn't equip an attack. He plays his commander, and that's the only chance he's going to get. So I fetch up a Cradle, steal his guy, draw a couple of cards. And he gets down with, like, I don't know, Green Sun Zenith for a Leatherback Bailiff. Not so good there. cards here. And Great Sun Zenith into Trastodon. Oh no, I didn't even Zenith, I just hardcast it. Sorry. Anyway, and then he scoops at the Trastodon. So next opponent, I lose the dice roll. And again, another glitch, so I'll be at the top. He's playing Risk the Redeemed. Hopefully we're making decent time here. 5 minutes in, I need to pick up the pace perhaps. So we're both playing an early ramp game, but I'm able to flip Edric on turn 2, so I'm pretty sure this game's over, especially since I did it with a Sylvan Library and the Skull Clamp. However, he can work around it by activating his top and then just losing the top and then playing a spell, or he can just draw Crows and Grip. So it's not like completely over. He wastes a Cultivate so he can get a Skull Clamp in play. It's totally backwards. Anyway, throw a GT on an Edric, kill his guy, so now he's got like no mana to work with whatsoever. And he finally gives in. Turn 4. Kind of a sick mana vault turn that was. So I mulligan this time, facing Animar. Mulligan again. So double mulligan. So I thought maybe, alright, the streak will be broken. The winning streak. And I figured I'd only play enough games until I lost. So generate some early guys in mana, you know, as this deck is wont to do. He plays Animar, and I just Mystical for Natural Order. And Natural Order into Trastodon, and he gives up with no mana. The reason it typically is right on turn 4 when they quit is because I wait until they have 3 lands and then Trastodon them, so I can kill all 3 of their lands. So there's so many ways to do it. You can Mystical Tutor for Natural Order. You can Merchant Scroll for Mystical Tutor for Natural Order. You can Muddle the Mixture for Merchant Scroll for Mystical Tutor for Natural Order, and you can draw Natural Order. And you can also just ramp and cast Trastodon. Probably the most broken 8 mana creature I know of. So anyway, my opponent, he's playing Hikori Dust Drinker, but unfortunately Winter Orb is not good against me. I'm going to minimize his commander. So I do the triple elephant, and I figure he'll give up, but he actually sticks around for a bit. So okay, so I start producing beasts, hoping that Garrick will live. He doesn't swing, so I'm able to Viridian Shaman this little guy there, and then pod into a clone using Viridian Shaman, pod into a clone of Trastodon, and kill 2 more planes, and he still doesn't give up. And he doesn't kill Garrick either, so you should do one or the other, right? So I take his True Believer, pod it away into Witness, Witness up Natural Order, snap my clone, cast Trastodon, killing his 2 lands, and then Natural Order into a Wirewood Hivemaster, and then I pod into a Hermit. So I was thinking about maybe Trastodoning him again, then I realized no problem, I'll just do what I'm doing here, using pod to produce more guys with Wirewood, and I go ahead and pod into a Curse Catcher in case he has like Fog, and overrun him with Garrick's Ultimate. So next opponent, what was that, 3 Trastodons that game? Could have been more. I'm at the top again, or I'm at the top again. So my opponent's playing Rith the Awakener, and I'm on the dice roll. So we get down with map, and then I use the Strip Mine in play to search for a land, because I figure I want to play a Strip Mine, but I also want to play a Guy's Cradle, so I don't want to take too much time playing regular lands when I can get that Strip Mine in play, so that I can eventually Cradle. So I finally get the Wasteland off and play a Predator, discarding extra land. He plays a creature who prevents all combat damage it's dealt to it, so I just put it back in his hand, draw some more cards, and destroy one of his mana sources again, and he gives up. So next opponent is playing Chromat. And I'm at the bottom this time. He's got the first turn, so keep a mostly blue hand, which is kind of interesting. And I go ahead and just counter his bobble because I can, and because I have lots of mana. And it'll be very difficult to spell pierce something if he's mana ramping. So I use the brainstorm trick to set myself up, get down with an Edric. And he develops with cultivate. And now I'm drawing 2 cards per turn. So I play an Arrayo, leaving 2 basic islands up so that the only way he can play a strip mine is if it's actually strip mine. He can't play wasteland. And when I mana drain, he quits. So this guy's playing Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight. So another, modestly paced hand. Gets down with some boots, and I'm able to slow him down a little bit more with Spike Tail, hopefully. So I play Wirewood and Mystic. I don't even swing there, because if he had Condemn, I would rather just have the Hatchling in play so that I'm safe from Wrath of God or Day of Justice. So anyway, I go get some mana and play Edric, and now I'm going to draw a bunch of cards, and it's okay if he has a Condemn. At this point, just because I've already refilled my hand. Plays Oblivion Ring, so I time walk him with Spike Tail Hatching and draw like a billion cards. And there is a mana crypt and a map, so he's about to go get Cradle, and it was about to be on, but he gives up. So here I'm playing against Daxos of Meletus, and I am loving Curse Catcher. It's so good in the stack. So down he comes, and I don't even play Hive Master because I'm concerned with leaving a counter up, and then I draw Force of Will, so it allows me to tap out. And I Force of Will his commander. And as you can see, I'm having a little bit of mana problems, but that's okay because now he is 2. So get in for some more damage. And he goes to cast what obviously is going to be an instant or sorcery and sees the Curse Catcher, I think, and decides against that plan. So I'm thinking I'm good to go here, so I go ahead and play Simic with a Unified Will, but he taps 2 of his lands to counter it, which of course sets him back 2 turns, so I'm fine with that. So just get in for some more damage. Interestingly enough, the damage is actually starting to add up from just these 2 little guys. So now he's at 28. Finally plays his commander, and I just let him have it. And then on my turn I snap it, and he gives up. I was hoping to draw Cradle or Ancient Tomb or something else that I could use on my turn to abuse the snap a little harder, but that was perfectly fine as well, and is why I didn't counter it. So this guy's playing Kanigi, Airy Keeper. Another turn 1 Curse Catcher, which turns on Cradle, which is fantastic if I need it. Turn 2 Ophelos, and he can't counterspell it thanks to Curse Catcher. So Rayo comes down, I go for Pod. He pass Rayo, and that's fine. So I go ahead and pod the Curse Catcher into Sylvan Ranger and draw a land. This time Judge's Familiar, and I pod the Ranger into Witness to pick up Curse Catcher and to play an Edric. And he plays a Rock Egg, so I strip away his only white, bounce his egg, and he gives up. So I'm playing against Ghost Council of Orsov, and another turn 1 Curse Catcher is very cool. So I lead off with that, and turn 2 Aquarian Ranger comes down. End of turn, I go ahead and fetch myself up a Arbor. So turn 3 I go get Mystical Tutor, and end of turn search for, you guessed it, Natural Order. Turn 4 I'm able to play Edric and then tap my Cradle for 4 and Natural Order Edric away. Trastodoning triple lands, but interestingly Trastodon cannot get through a Wall of Blood. Wall of Blood's actually way defensive. It's a moat in a 40 life format. So anyway, I just play some flyer I replay Edric and play Areo. Get him for a card. And then Witness for Merchant Scroll again. It's doing all kinds of work. Merchant Scroll goes, gets Rift. Rift clears his board and he gives up. So now I'm facing Grand Arbiter. Always scary because of the potential for them drawing Crypt, Vault, or Soul Ring and getting him out fast and then having him become a problem. He doesn't lead off with that, and since I have Curse Catcher and I'm holding a Viridian Shaman, I've got Areo, feeling pretty good, so I'll go ahead and just ensure that I'm going to hit some more mana. He plays nothing, so I'm able to play Edric, draw a couple of cards, I think, but he otherworldly journeys the wrong creature, Sylvan Ranger instead of Edric, so not only do I still get to draw a card, but I get a bigger Ranger and get to draw a land. And I just throw away like a Deranged Hermit because it's kind of expensive and he's supposed to be playing some sort of control deck. I draw 3. Get down with Garrick and Areo. Can't really Wrath here. Only thing he could do would be Supreme Verdict, but he plays Magus of the Moat. So Spike Tail comes down. Snap happens. I draw a bunch of cards. I cast Trinket Mage for Mox. Mox Diamond to flip Areo. I Garrick some lands, bribery him for a creature that's going to let me take 2 turns every turn. And he gives up. So this guy's playing Marikiri Barrett. Should be good against me, you'd think. So I'm mulligan into this hand. The first hand would have been a keeper if Mox Diamond had been Chrome Mox, and I've really been considering making that change. But maybe I should play both, I don't know. Anyway, I do nothing until he plays his commander, and then I mana drain him. And in 1 turn I'm able to play Vault, Tezzeret, Jite, Orb, and he quits. So, next opponent is playing Sigarda, Host of Herons. And look at that Curse Catcher just rising to the top there for me. I guess when you always draw it early, he seems a lot better than he might be, like, you know, a weak top deck, but I sure like him. Anyway, so I get down with Garrick and yeah, I draw some extra cards here. He's like fiddling around with his cards, so I bribe him for Trastodon. He passes Trastodon and fetches me a land. I go ahead and choose to allow that, and then I Snapcaster Bribery and bribe him again for Avacyn, Angel of Hopelessness. Hope, rather. Everything I control is indestructible now. So, yeah, there's no coming back from this. But I let him flail around for a few turns, obviously. He's not going to concede just yet. And then I do Ultimate on Garrick and smash him for plenty of damage there. Kind of rough when you get beat by your own deck, but obviously he's not the first person to have that happen to in this video. So anyway, this guy's playing Thraxamunder, and I mulligan a few times. The first hand was keepable but risky. I'm going for first turn Sylvan and he quits. Apparently Mana Crypt is just too powerful for him. So this time I'm playing against Croesus the Purger. Normally games like that where the guy quits I would not even include in the video, but since I was going to include the first 20 games or play until I lost, I didn't want to skip any and have it appear that I was leaving something out, so I went ahead and just included that turn 2 concession. Also, it's interesting to sometimes just see how, I don't know, to me it seems like so weak-minded for somebody to just like give up. Oh my god, they have a Mana Crypt, I give up, even though they just double mulligan, but whatever. So anyway, end of turn I go get a Strip Mine and a Bribery to go with my Mana Drain. I don't play the Strip Mine though. Instead I bribe him and I take Inkwell Leviathan, figuring this is going to be a real problem for him. It's also a solution to Greater Gargadon. So he sudden deaths Edric, so now I'm really glad that I did take Leviathan instead of something that might have been killable. So I Mana Drain his Teferi and Strip Mine his land, and he gives up. was on a pretty significant clock of his own making. I always build my decks with bribery in mind, and it's real interesting to see people who don't. Anyway, Talran the Sky Summoner is the next opponent. Should be good, right? Keep a 2-land hand, but he doesn't have 4 spikes, so we're good to go. Edric gets down and starts doing what he does. And from here, I mean, I don't even know how blue deck catches up. Plays Tidebinder Mage to tap Edric for as long as Tidebinder remains in play, so I remove him from play with Jace. He replays it, keeping Edric tapped. Somewhat pointless there. I go ahead and just Trinket Mage for a Crypt. Crypt for a Pod. Pod my Trinket into Sower. Sower is Tidebinder. Now Edric will untap, and then I can actually use Jace to draw cards. Plays Talran, so I just play Curse Catcher so that there's no Force of Will coming. Regrow the Witness, Pod the Witness into Clone the Sower, and he gives up. You cannot beat this deck if Pod is in play. It's never happened. I've never lost with Pod in play. Even from like the worst possible, like I've been way behind and then just get a Pod out and quickly like completely just win. Anyway, the other guy's playing Sig, and this is the last game. So, first turn Quarian Ranger. My son is happy this is the last game, I guess. So he goes Carnophage, and I just decided to leak it because, you know, I didn't need to be taking extra damage. And I don't Mox Diamond there because I anticipate drawing extra cards, but I wasn't foreseeing Vendetta. So, he gets down with Sig. Now, it's kind of a problem because it's like an anti-Sylvan Library card. So anyway, I fetch up a Forest, play, pump my untapped elf just to pick up a Forest so that I can play the Mox and then play Sword of Fire and Ice. So then I equip the sword, and he's got a bounce spell that does 3 damage to me. So all I can do now is just recast Bloom Tender and then pump to pick up a land and hit a land drop and play Expedition Map. So he gets an extra card that turn. So I search for map, play a bird, pump my Bloom Tender, cast a Sylvan after declaring my attack step so that I can mana drain for next turn. He just does nothing. There's for knowledge, whatever. He goes and gets a Soul Ring, I don't care. He gets a Talisman, I don't care. End of turn, I fetch myself a Cradle. And then go ahead and just give him some extra cards. And now this is kind of interesting. He doesn't get the cards till the end of the turn. Sig's got to live. So I play Edric, and then play Sword of Fire and Ice, and pump my Bloom Tender. And put the Sword of Fire and Ice onto the bird. So I swing with the bird in 2/1/1. So what do you do if you're him? He decides to kill the Quarian Ranger that's been letting me abuse things, and I just do 2 to his commander with the sword, and now he doesn't get an extra card. So he plays Demonic Tutor for Spectre? Question mark? I don't know. So I just pay some life and draw extra cards, and then how is Spectre good against a Bird of Paradise? I have no idea. So anyway, I search for an Elvish Archdruid just to make Edric a 3/3. Send in Edric and the bird. He blocks the bird. It's no big deal. And then produce a bunch of mana. Just let him do whatever the heck he wants. None of it matters. Go ahead and fetch an Arbor to power the Cradle. And play my Wasteland. And up to this point, it looked like he might have been in the game, but the reality is he only has 3 lands in play. And that is the end of 20 games with this version of Edric. Ryan said that I should take out, well, he said that I needed to play Memory Lapse and Negate, and I kind of agonized over whether or not I agreed, and it's just hard to deny the logic of that. Them being so cheap, they generate mana advantage, and that's what this whole deck's about, mana advantage. When they play a 3 casting cost spell and you play a 2 casting cost counter, you're +1 mana for the turn against them. The whole deck's about ramping and then de-ramping them. And so what I ended up doing was taking out some of the sketchy cards. I took out Oracle, the 4 mana elf who lets you play lands off the top of your deck, because with only 32 lands. I mean, I love the card, and I frequently do hit lands, and due to Sylvan Library, Edric, and everything else. But the problem is, it's sort of unreliable. It's less reliable and more expensive than Memory Lapse. And the other card I took out was Masticore, who briefly became Karn, Liberated, who was awesome, and who I actually really wish I could find room for in here, but I just simply don't know how to do so. Most of the deck is early game, but man, when you get those ramp hands, like, any time that you slap Karn into play, you almost shoot in to win. It solves a lot of problems too, but it's just I had to take something out, and so I took the Masticore out because he's only sometimes good. Took the Karn out because he's only good when you have 7 mana, and Negate will be good anytime I have 2 mana and a target. So those are the changes that I made. Now we're at 14 effects that can counter spells. We've got Curse Catcher, Spell Pierce, that's 2, Spike Tail's 3, Will is 4, Arrayo's 5, Leak is 6, Remand is 7, Negate is 8, Lapse 9, Counterspell 10, Mana Drain's 11, Muddle the Mixture is 12, Gleaning Under is 13, Force of Will is 14, and that's not counting stuff like Snapcastering a counterspell, or of course regrowing a counterspell, or Merchant Scrolling for a counterspell. So pretty solid, and that is 20 games in 26 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's certainly the longest one I've ever attempted. I may not do anything like this in the future, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.